Perhaps this sounds familiar to you, because most of us had a childhood friend at some point. Sometimes due to the time and pleasant moments you spend with that person, love begins to grow inside you, and for many their first love was their childhood friend. Unfortunately, these strong feelings are often not reciprocated, but in this story it is the girl who falls in love, and she will not take no for an answer. It all begins in a living room where a mother was introduced along with her young son. Named Naoya, they were greeting their new neighbors because they had recently moved in. That was where he met Chihaya, a girl his own age. When Naoya met her he was very nervous, but these nerves disappeared over time and with Chihaya's pleasant company. One day while they were playing in the park it started to rain and they took shelter inside one of the playground structures while they watched the rain fall. Chihaya took some candy out of her pocket and shared it with Naoya. After that Naoya looked at the ground and said that when they grew up he promised to marry her if she wanted to. Chihaya upon hearing this became nervous and blushed and told him that she accepted, promising him that she would eagerly await that day. Years passed, and while walking together at university Naoya suggested to his friend that they should no longer come together. Chihaya angrily asked him if he no longer liked being with her, but he explained that he was simply embarrassed because people might misinterpret their relationship. Chihaya, understanding the situation, started laughing because she thought it was cute that he was embarrassed, and as usual she grabbed his arm and they went to college together. One day while they were studying Naoya asked his friend for help with a math problem, and as she approached him and saw him more closely without his uniform she realized how much Naoya had grown. Her heart beat erratically when she saw how much taller her childhood friend looked. Without realizing it, her Naoya-chan now had the face of a man. Some time later a boy asked her out on a date at a bridge, and once they were there he confessed his feelings to her, but her heart already belonged to someone else, so she rejected the boy's confession. As she left she thought that they were both in college now, so she wondered when Naoya would confess his feelings. She wanted it to be soon and eagerly awaited her first date and her first kiss with Naoya. She felt like her heart was about to explode every time she imagined all the moments she would experience with him, but unfortunately this would not happen. When Chihaya saw Naoya looking nervous, she thought that he was finally going to keep his promise, but she couldn't have been more wrong. He told her that there was a girl in his class that he liked and wanted to know what gift he could give her. Perhaps as a girl and his best friend she could give him some advice on how to surprise her. Upon hearing this Chihaya's heart broke. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. She didn't want to believe it. She couldn't understand how the boy who promised to commit to her could do this to her. Weeks passed, and although Chihaya tried to hide her disappointment she could no longer bear it. She had waited patiently for him for more than a decade and another girl had stolen him away. Chihaya didn't want to think that Naoya had forgotten his promise. During those weeks her head was filled with negative thoughts. She tried to understand if she had done something wrong for her beloved to replace her so easily. One thing was clear. If he wasn't going to be with her and reciprocate her feelings, then she wouldn't be with anyone else. She promised to be the only one for Naoya and she would keep her promise. No one was going to take him away from her. Naoya's romantic interest was waiting for him at a conference at the university. She was worried because he hadn't arrived yet and hoped that nothing bad had happened to him. We are not told how, but Chihaya had somehow tied Naoya to the bed, preventing him from leaving her house. Naoya, bewildered, shouted at Chihaya, asking her what was going on while yelling at her to stop and let him go. Chihaya, with a cold expression, explained that she was doing all this because of him complaining that he had forgotten his promise that when they grew up he would ask her to be his wife, but instead he had decided to replace her with someone else while she waited for him with her heart in her hand. Naoya understood and explained that the promise had only been a joke, a childish promise. She was his best friend, he saw her as family. Chihaya hysterically shouted that he was lying, that it was a serious promise and he had to keep it, just as she had kept her promise to wait for him. Angry and powerless, she told him that she would not allow anyone else to be in his life. After saying all this, Chihaya climbed on top of him, and even though Naoya asked her to stop, she continued with the act. She told him that now the two of them were one, officially a couple, and he was hers alone. Days passed, and still shocked by what had happened, Naoya was forced to participate in Chihaya's not-so-innocent acts whenever she asked him to at any time, even while they were at university. She sought to please herself and make Naoya see that she was the girl he needed. Naoya had never seen this possessive and insane side of Chihaya before. Over time, due to the unreality of the situation, Naoya stopped making excuses and participated more easily in Chihaya's not-so-innocent activities. She had stolen almost all of his first experiences. Chihaya thought that by doing all this she was ensuring that no other girl would steal what she loved most. Naoya was starting to go crazy. He didn't know how to stop Chihaya. Who could he ask for help? If he stopped her violently, he feared she would do something to the people he loved. He no longer knew what she was capable of doing. Naoya's concern was so obvious that at Hariaki University the girl Naoya was in love with asked him with concern if something was wrong. She had seen him looking worried lately and wanted to help him cheer up. She would do everything she could to understand his situation. Hearing her, Naoya felt relaxed. In front of him was the girl he truly loved. Maybe she could help him. Maybe she would understand his situation. Naoya was regaining his confidence, and just as he was about to answer her, his phone rang. This filled his heart with fear, and when he looked at it he saw that it was Chihaya asking him why he was talking to that girl. She demanded that he stay away from her if he didn't want something bad to happen to him. Alarmed, Naoya began to look around. How was it possible that she knew he was talking to her? Was she spying on him, or how the hell did she know? Chihaya knew all this because she had placed microphones in Naoya's backpack. She wanted to make sure he didn't talk to Hariaki. She was unable to follow him all the time, so she had to find another way to always be by his side. When he returned home, Naoya was paranoid about what had happened, but he still couldn't give up. He had to find a way to talk to Hariaki. Seeing that there was no sign of Chihaya anywhere, he entered his house more calmly. Greeting as he entered, he saw that he was alone. There was no one else at home, only silence in him. As he walked down the hall, he thought that Hariaki might be able to help him out of this torture. Maybe he could explain everything to her via text message or talk to her in person. She could help him. But before he could do any of those things, Chihaya appeared behind him and electrocuted him, knocking him unconscious. When Naoya woke up, he found himself tied to the bed again while Chihaya was doing inappropriate things to him. As she did those things, she complained angrily about him talking to Hariaki and not paying attention to her all day, telling him that she could no longer contain herself. She had made the decision to get pregnant right now, that way he would never approach another woman again. They would have the family he had always dreamed of, and Naoya could be responsible and fulfill the promise he had once made to her. Desperate, Naoya did everything he could to free himself from his bonds. He fervently refused to start a family with her. He did not want to be tied to her for the rest of his life. He did not love her in that way. She began to give him electric shocks to keep him still. After a few minutes of intense action, Chihaya achieved her goal, getting Naoya white liquid inside her. While she was still on top of Naoya, she said that today she would register their marriage, and that from now until death do them part they would be enough for each other. They would both be faithful until the end, and she would make sure of that. Naoya listened to all this in terror, not recognizing the girl on top of him. This woman was no longer the best friend he once knew. He didn't understand how such an innocent girl could become a mad woman obsessed with a love that didn't exist. In this story, the months passed, and we realized that in the end Naoya was forced to fulfill the promise he made as a child. When he arrived home, he saw his wife Chihaya, who was pregnant with his child, on the sofa. She welcomed her husband, who was once her best friend, with a smile, but we see that Naoya only had a tired expression. It was clear that he was not happy, but he had to be responsible for the people he loved and for his future child. He had to endure being with someone he did not love. Perhaps with time things would improve, and seeing his future child would bring him peace, or perhaps even that would not be enough to endure this ordeal. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this story and what you think of how it unfolded. Remember that God is the way, the truth, and the life. Take care, and may God bless you.